Well, good morning. uh, the title for the video for July 25th is, It's About Love, Not Religion. I mentioned at the end of the last video that I was headed for the Messianic Jewish Synagogue. This was my fifth or sixth Sabbath service. I've been pretty stoked to witness what I perceive as an expansion by those allowing spiritual change. Of course, I've been an advocate of embracing people of all religions, which to me is fulfillment of the measuring stick given to us by the one we know as Jesus, when he said, "By this shall men know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." It wasn't about right beliefs. It was about right attitudes. Most religious people still don't get it. And it seemed to me that neither did the rabbi. He was strongly emphasizing that we had to become Jewish to be right with God. That's the same old separation principle that drives a wedge between people and keeps us from the true spiritual growth. To me, all religions have some truth, but none of them are true. They've all been manipulated for evil purposes. Yes, I have been pretty stoked at the services that I've witnessed and participated in at the Messianic Jewish Synagogue. Their Sabbath services last 2 hours, and the first hour is singing and chanting and doing scriptures, and it's really pretty amazing. I mean, it's entertaining as well as feeding the soul. And I mean, I have really been blessed by attending these meetings. However, as I said in the blurb, the message that he gave on Sunday, today is Sunday. That was yesterday. The message that he gave for the Sabbath seemed to fly in the face of the love principle, which to me is the core, the central thing. You know, I think Jesus was very clear. This sums up the whole law and the prophets, that you love God and you love your neighbor as yourself. And who is your neighbor? Well, he went on to teach through John that everyone is our neighbor. You know, it's not just somebody in a certain clique, not just somebody with a certain label, not somebody that believes a certain thing, but if they're human, the command is to love them. The hardest people for me personally to love are the people that, to me, are led by demons and create the system that we have in the world, which is, to me, very, very evil. But there are people within that structure that are good people. My banker, I mean, I like my banker. I don't like banks. I don't like what banks have done to the people of the world. I don't like the enslavement. I don't like the fact that they create money out of nothing and then loan it to you when they've actually taken it from your account that you didn't know that existed. You know, there's all sorts of fraud, in other words, and it's hard to love perpetuators of fraud. But most people involved, even in the politics, are not necessarily bad people. They're people that have been entrapped by a system that is fraud through and through, and yet it puts truth, mixes truth in with it, because you can't just, if it was total lies, it wouldn't be even plausible to believe it. But when you mix a bunch of truths in it and then you surround it by a bunch of lies, it becomes a complex issue to try to figure out what the meaning of it all is. And anything, to me, anything that separates us and says, I'm better than you, is not from God. period. It's not from God. I don't care if it's in the Bible. I don't care if it's in the Quran. I don't care if it's in the Bhagavad Gita. I don't care where it's found. It's not from God. It's from the God of this world, which is Lucifer, which is an evil entity, which is the devil, you know. And I wish we humans could get it through our head that all of these religious things that divide us do not come from a high source. They come from a very low source, a source that pretends it's high, but it's very low. And it operates by compulsion, by deception, yes, by force, and it kills a lot of people and has throughout the ages taken a lot of lives of human beings that were dissenters or were trying to stand on a different principle, a higher principle. And there is no higher principle to me than to love one another. That is the core, the center, the signpost, the measuring stick, whatever you want to call it. That is the thing that separates truth from error. And when you go around saying, we're the ones that are right, and you're going to hell, you're going to be lost if you don't believe what we believe. Don't you understand? That's the core of deception. That's where it all comes from. That's the whole thing of playing one-upmanship and a game of pretending to be superior. This is the lie that Lucifer told from the very beginning. I will be like God. But the best he could try to emulate is to be like God. He couldn't be God. Because the truth of the matter is, we already are all part of God. But when you try to set yourself apart and separate it, you've moved out of love into something else other than love, and you've missed the mark. That's the mark. The mark is love. The destination is to love one another. That's the starting point. That's the ending point. That you love one another as I have loved you. Isn't that the teaching? Those of you that know the scriptures, isn't that what it says? I believe it is. It's what I've read. It's what I've grown up with my whole life. It's what has produced my vision to help create the kingdom of heaven on earth, to be a mouthpiece for that kingdom, and to speak the truth to the best of my ability, to admit it when I've been mistaken. Have I not done that? Those of you that have been listening for a long time, have I not admitted my own misguidedness? Have I not admitted my errors? That I followed something that I thought was one thing and it turned out to be something else? Did I not do that with various things that I've been involved in? I've tried my best to do that. I don't make long dissertations. I don't get on and preach it used to be I had a 20-minute limit. Now it's a 10-minute limit. And when I've even spoken in churches and stuff like that, I don't want to be long-winded. I want to give my message and be done with it. And the message usually has a core issue that I'm dealing with. And the core issue here is it's about love. That's the core issue. It's not about proving somebody else wrong. What more can I say? I wish we could all get this, because if we could get it, we would be able to lay aside the petty differences and work together for the common goal of creating a world that literally works for all people, for the betterment of all people that have goodwill. And I think there's a lot of people, even in the dark side, that would have goodwill if it wasn't for the coercion and manipulation of the evil system that we have to deal with. Anyway, I hope this provides for you some food for thought. And I do always, as always, thank you for listening, and namaste.